a battle of wills, and the sword an extension of the duelist's spirit.
Outlines your fate.
Time to testify. Where evil lurks, shoot on sight!
Strike! No turning back!
Time to testify!
Quiver!
evil lurks. Shoot on sight.
Hi! You asked for it!
Come again.
Ring cutter! Glory to the Shogun! A worthy adversary. Let's get it on!
Hunt them down. Into the shadows.
Ad Astra. Thank you for
Not a peep. Has Kiryu given up on his revenge? Guess we'll have to keep at it. Still nothing unusual. Paimon took a peek into the room next door and Sylvain's already sleeping.
Perhaps Kiryu's true motive was simply forcing Sylvain to confess his crimes. No, that can't be right. If all he wanted was for Sylvain to be convicted for his true crimes, he could have tipped off the Marechaussee Phantom years ago. There must be something we're missing. Something extremely important.
Maybe we just need to calm down a little. How about some tea? That herbal blend from earlier was pretty tasty. You're right. Maybe we can look for a different distraction then, like looking at the flowers. Oh, there's a glaze lily here. Paimon didn't notice it earlier.
Flowers, glaze lilies, incense. Oh no! Sylvain's room! Quick!
Wait, what?
Hey, did you hear? Someone was attacked again last night.
It was the older of the merchant brothers, right?
Yeah, I think his name was Sylvain. Poor guy was murdered in cold blood.
First it was Mr. Edgar, then that merchant named Lucian, and now this.
Listen up, everyone. This is an active crime scene. Please, no loitering.
It's been 3 days and they haven't even caught a glimpse of the guy. What is going on?
Do you think it could be the work of an evil spirit? I mean, how do you get away with something like that with so many people watching?
Keep it moving, everyone. No loitering.
I suppose I'm next.
You don't know that. Kyria already attacked you once, and you survived. Perhaps he doesn't consider your crime to be worthy of death.
You were the only reason I managed to survive, Emily. I never did thank you for that, did I?
Even if I wasn't there, Tainari was also in the vicinity. He would have been able to help.
Is that so? I suppose I'm a very fortunate person then. I have exceptional students, caring friends, and the respect of my peers. If it is indeed my time to go, then I'll die without regrets. But Kyria has nothing. Yelena is gone. Now his enemies are too. It really makes you wonder if there's even a reason to keep on living.
If you really want an answer, I suppose you'll have to ask Kyria himself once we finally catch him.
Well, I hope it all goes well. Emily, there's something else I'd like to ask of you. With everything that's happened, holding the exhibition is off the table now. But so many flowers were transported here for the show, some of them thousands of miles away from their homeland. I can't let them wither away with no one to care for them. Whether Kyria gets to me first, or I'm sent back to Fontaine to stand trial, I won't be around to look after them. I know it's a lot to ask, but could I entrust them to your care?
Of course, Master.
Really? Oh, I'm glad to hear it. Now I truly have nothing to worry about.
Sheriff Sham still has some questions for me, so I've gotta go.
Go ahead. Best not to keep him waiting. He can be quite impatient.
I'm sorry, Master.
Wow, another all-nighter. Paimon sure hopes Emily's plan will go well. Oh, but Kali still looks quite worried. Let's go talk to her.
Emily still isn't back. I hope she didn't run into any trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
Traveler, I had my men start spreading the information you requested. The crowd is gone now too, but I have to admit, I'm not really sure what's going on. After listening to Emily's plan, I started getting the materials together and arranging personnel. I barely had a second to spare last night. To be honest, I'm still not sure how the crime was committed that night.
The key clue was right in front of us the entire time! where the culprit hid a goose. Emily still isn't back. Yeah, that's...
Traveler, I had my men start spreading the information you requested. The crowd is gone now too, but I have to admit, I'm not really sure what's going on. After listening to Emilie's plan, I started getting the materials together and arranging personnel. I barely had a second to spare last night. To be honest, I'm still not sure how the crime was committed that night.
The key clue was right in front of us the entire time! Let's go! We'll show you where the culprit hid a goose. Wasn't this incense originally in Lucien's room? This is it!
The glazed lily, huh? I think I've heard of it before. It's a flower from Liyue, right?
Well, did you know it only blooms at night?
Emilie, you're back!
Exactly as expected.
A flower that only blooms at night. Ah, like the Neelitpala lotus.
Exactly. Although the Neelitpala lotus wouldn't be a good substitute in this scenario. When it's closed, the gaps between the petals are too large. That's why Kyria chose the glaze lily as his mechanism. He would start by preparing an agoose sample.
If poured into the flower pot, the liquid would seep into the soil. That might prevent the substance from taking effect. There's a sticky substance on the edge of the flower petals. It's one I recognize. If applied to the outside, you would still be able to smell a goose even... That doesn't sound right.
The glazed lily, huh? I think I've heard of it before. It's a flower from Liyue, right?
Well, did you know it only blooms at night?
Emilie, you're back!
Exactly as expected.
A flower that only blooms at night. Ah, like the Neelitpala lotus.
Exactly. Although the Neelitpala lotus wouldn't be a good substitute in this scenario. When it's closed, the gaps between the petals are too large. That's why Kyria chose the glaze lily as his mechanism. He would start by preparing an agoose sample.
If you stick the petals together with slime... That doesn't sound right.
That's right! He applied a diluted form of slime condensate to the petals to stick them together and enclosed a sample of agoust in the center. That way, the Auguste would remain trapped inside during the daytime, unable to seep between the petals and evaporate into the air. This also allowed the culprit to plant the poison well in advance while his targets remained oblivious. However, the diluted slime condensate wouldn't be viscous enough to prevent the petals of the glaze lily from opening at night. So by nightfall, the flower would bloom, thereby forcing the target to inhale the Auguste trapped inside.
And Kyria could execute his revenge without having to step foot inside the room during the night.
By the next morning, the sample of Auguste would have nearly fully evaporated. The glaze lily would have already closed its petals, and any lingering odor would be concealed by the fragrance of the other flowers in the room.
Wait a second. You're telling me this version of Auguste is so toxic, inhaling the minute amount trapped inside a flower is enough to kill a grown man? And how did Edgar even survive ingesting a whole bottle of the stuff?
That's because Auguste is just as dangerous now as it was all those years ago. The level of toxicity has never changed. Only a small subset of people are truly at risk.
Ah, you mean people who are sensitive to elemental energy. So it's just some sort of happy coincidence that Sylvain and Lucien are allergic to the stuff? That can't be right. They were involved in the operation all those years ago. If the stuff gave them a bad reaction, they would have known from the very start.
I wouldn't use the word allergic necessarily. It's more like they're susceptible to its effects. But that distinction isn't important right now. You can think of it this way. It's not that Sylvain and Lucien are innately sensitive to elemental energy, but that Kyria found a way to ensure that they would be.
The incense I smelled. All kinds of essential oils commonly found in alchemical products can temporarily in Fontaine, I experienced in Sumeru,
alchemically produced essential oils, the primordial seawater that caused unrest in Fontaine not too long ago. All of those are substances that can heighten your sensitivity to elemental energy.
That stuff gave us a lot of trouble when we first came to Sumeru.
Ah, yes. I definitely remember that.
In Sumeru, it's not uncommon to use incense indoors, so its presence wouldn't arouse suspicion. The flowers in the room could also serve to mask the scent.
Flowers were pretty important to this plan, huh? The glaze lily is native to Liyue. It would be completely unnatural to have one here in Sumeru if it weren't for the exhibition. What a coincidence.
Actually, it's not a coincidence at all.
No wonder he was willing to pay a small fortune to rent out the hotel.
He probably used the Mora Yelena left him, don't you think? That money was supposed to set him free. But in the end, it was just a tool for his revenge.
There's a saying among forensic doctors in Fontaine. Every step you take leaves a mark. But up until this point, we haven't been able to detect any trace of Kyria's activities. That's not because he was coming and going undetected, or because he's some kind of evil spirit, but because he's been disguised as someone else this entire time.
The Mora spent to rent out the hotel, the way the Auguste flower was cultivated, the method used to disguise his appearance. It all points to one person. Creating such an intricate mechanism out of a glaze lily, setting it all points to one person. The expert in charge of the entire exhibition. It all points to creating such an intricate mechanism out of a glazed lily. It all points to one person, the expert in charge of the entire exhibition. That doesn't sound...
The glazed lily, huh? I think I've heard of it before.
Well, did you know it only blooms at night?
Emilie, you're back!
Exactly as expected.
A flower that only blooms at night. Ah, like the Neelitpala lotus.
Exactly. Although, that's why Kyria chose the glaze lily as his mechanism. He would start by preparing an agoose sample.
That doesn't sound... There's a... If you stick the petal...
That's right, that way However,
And Kyria could...
by the next morning, the sample...
Wait a second. And how did Edgar
That's because a goose is just as dangerous now as it was all those years ago. The level of toxicity has never changed. Only a small subset of people are truly at risk.
Ah, you mean people who are sensitive to elemental energy. So it's just some sort of happy coincidence that Sylvain and Lucien are allergic to the stuff? That can't be right. They were involved in the operation all those years ago. If the stuff gave them a bad reaction, they would have known from the very start.
I wouldn't use the word allergic necessarily. It's more like they're susceptible to its effects. But that distinction isn't important right now. You can think of it this way. It's not that Sylvain and Lucien are innately sensitive to elemental energy, but that Kyria found a way to ensure that they would be.
That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound...
Alchemically produced essential oils, the primordial seawater that caused unrest in Fontaine not too long ago. All of those...
That stuff gave us a lot of trouble when we first came to Sumeru.
Ah, yes. I definitely remember that.
In Sumeru, it's not uncommon to use incense indoors, so its presence wouldn't arouse suspicion. The flowers in the room could also serve to mask the scent.
Flowers were pretty important to this plan, huh? The glazed lily is native to Liwa. It would be completely unnatural to have one here in Sumeru if it weren't for the exhibition. What a coincidence.
Actually, it's not a coincidence at all.
No wonder he was willing to pay a small fortune to rent out the hotel.
He probably used the Mora Yelena left him, don't you think? That money was supposed to set him free. But in the end, it was just a tool for his revenge.
There's a saying among forensic doctors in Fontaine. Every step you take leaves a mark. But up until this point, we haven't been able to detect any trace of Kyria's activities. That's not because he was coming and going undetected, or because he's some kind of evil spirit, but because he's been disguised as someone else this entire time.
Creating such an intricate mechanism out of a glazed lily, setting up the spirit borneal in advance, it all points to one. Kyria and Edgar are one and the same.
But Kiryu was only in his teens back then. He wouldn't even be 40 years old by now. Edgar's lived here for so many years. Even if he changed his appearance, going that long without giving anything away, it would be impossible.
Bad news, Sheriff! Mr. Edgar was attacked!
What?
A dark shadow-like figure just ran out of his room. It was giving off a really ominous aura. But before we could even react, the figure up and disappeared like some sort of ghost or something. By the time we got a look inside the room, Mr. Edgar was gone. Do you think Kiria kidnapped him?
I need you to think very carefully about this. Are you certain that figure wasn't Edgar himself?
I mean, Mr. Edgar was so frail. I don't see how he could have moved that fast.
It would seem Master decided to tap into an ill-advised source of power.
What? But that's so dangerous with the condition he's in. It's...
But why? Why would he do that? He's already accomplished his revenge.
No. If his aim was to target everyone who had a hand in Yelena's death,
If he left Sylvain alive yesterday, not out of a desire to see him suffer, but to confirm the truth about why Yelena chose to die,
then there's still one target left.
The shadow-like figure ran in the direction of the elevator, and my partner immediately chased after them.
We should hurry before they're forced to confront each other.
Where in the world did he go? Let's ask the merchants nearby.
A shadow-like figure with an ominous aura. Sorry, I didn't see anything. I was busy taking inventory.
A ghost! It's a ghost!
It's all right. Please, calm down and take a deep breath. Can you tell us what you saw?
I saw a black shadow. It ran right past me. How could something like that happen in broad daylight?
Don't come any closer!
If we go any further, we'll be out of Port Ormos. There'll be hardly any witnesses.
It's all right. I can detect a faint whiff of the scent from here. I would say he passed by this location not too long ago. It's this way. Please, follow me. The scent is getting stronger. This must be the...
Oh! O's! Are you all right? Were you attacked?
No, I'm all right. I was just chasing after that figure, and then all of a sudden, I didn't feel so hot.
Let me take a look.
The air definitely feels heavy. It smells nice, but for some reason, it's hard to breathe.
This feeling, I've encountered it before.
Everything looks all right. It was probably just the stress of the chase, combined with the impact of the environment. A bit of rest would do you some good.
I can't rest. Mr. Edgar is still in there. He taught my sister how to make perfume. He's a good man. I can't just abandon him to die by Curia's hand.
O's, you need to calm down and listen to me. Edgar is the one we're after. He and Kiria are the same person.
But how is that possible? I thought you said Kiria was in his 30s. Mr. Edgar is 70-something. Changing your appearance to look decades older, that doesn't seem possible.
That's precisely why he had to resort to extraordinary measures to age himself. Kiria used a delusion to bring back the Auguste flower, corroding his body in the process, just like his older sister.
No. He couldn't have. Mr. Edgar has been in Port Ormos for years. If someone started impersonating him all of a sudden, we would have noticed.
And what if the impersonation started before he ever set foot in Sumeru? I've yet to confirm it, but I suspect Kiria killed the real Edgar in Fontaine not long after his release from prison. While Edgar was incarcerated, Kiria started making preparations to replace him, including forcefully aging his body, studying perfumery, and planning the real Edgar's demise. The new Edgar then decided to relocate to Sumeru, seemingly out of an innocuous desire to let go of the past. He even left perfume making in favor of mentoring students. But these decisions were all for a specific purpose: the need to distance himself from anyone who might see through the facade. And Sumeru fit the bill to a T, with no one around to question his identity. All he had to do was grow a beard, don a pair of glasses, make a few minor alterations to his appearance, and everyone would believe he was exactly who he claimed: Edgar, a perfumer from Fontaine. As the years went by, he removed his disguise little by little and continued to refine his skills. It would have been a gradual process, one that ensured no one around him would notice anything unusual.
That explains why Sylvain said he barely recognized Edgar back at the hotel. He aged himself decades beyond his years just so he could accomplish his revenge. Is that even worth it?
I need to find Mr. Edgar. He's not that kind of person. He can't be.
What you really need is to get out of here and rest.
No, I can keep going.
Wait! This environment is likely being influenced by the delusion. Any discomfort, no matter how slight, should not be treated lightly. I know how to relieve your symptoms, Mr. Ooze. Please come with me and rest. I'm sure Kiria... No, Edgar wouldn't want any more innocent people implicated in all this.
Kale's right. The Traveler and I will take things from here. From our brief exposure to a goose, it would seem the substance has little effect on us. This leads me to believe those blessed with a vision or capable of wielding elemental power are more resistant to the effects of abnormal elemental energy. In other words, this environment doesn't pose as much of a risk to us. Actually, now that I think about it, this stronghold likely has multiple points of entry, If the target were to escape from a different point of entry, that might allow him to evade capture. I hate to trouble you, but we need people to survey the perimeter.
Thanks. Hear that? We're heading out. There's work to be done. Ooze, head back to Port Ormos and start gathering reinforcements.
Got it.
Traveler, Emilie, Paimon, please be careful. For someone whose only purpose in life is revenge, there's no telling what they'll do when there's no reason to move forward.
Don't worry. This isn't the end. Not for us or for Kyria. We're not going to let a goose kill anyone else. It's time for the mythos to fade into obscurity. Monsters? Perhaps they were attracted here by the increased level of elemental energy.
They're dead meat!
I've never seen these seeds before. They must also have been created with the power of a delusion. It seems to be avoiding us, and there's no other way forward. Perhaps we could try luring it to the edge of the cliff.
Whoa, look at all the Auguste flowers! There are so many of them. I can't believe a single person did all this. Must have taken a lot of time.
I fear that statement is truer than you know, Paimon. Using a delusion comes at a cost. Not just time, but the time you have left to live.
But why would Kyria need this many Auguste flowers? He only needed a few bottles of Auguste to carry out his plan, right?
Perhaps hatred wasn't the only emotion fueling his obsession with Auguste. Not long ago, he told me he didn't want all the flowers transported to Sumeru to wither away in a foreign land. But Kyria betrayed Snezhnaya, abandoned Fontaine, and lived his entire life in Sumeru under the guise of someone else. For someone with nowhere to call home, perhaps dying among a bed of Auguste flowers just like his sister is the best homecoming he could ask for.
Time to testify. Enough. Not good. No, my sword. Loaded. Where evil lurks, shoot on sight. Ready. Let's get it on! Gloves off! Ah! No turning back!
Extract! This'll brighten up the place.
The scent of flowers is getting stronger. We're almost at the end. The scent of flowers is getting...
Did they catch up that... No. My strength is just waning. But it doesn't matter. This is fun.
This is a garden of Auguste flowers. But it's not mine. It's the one that was set on fire all those years ago in... Yelena? Yelena! You tried to hide it from me, but I always understood. The reason why you continued to use the delusion. The reason why you set your garden on fire. I shouldn't have listened to you that day. I shouldn't have taken the Mora and ran. But by the time I realized something wasn't right, there was nothing left. I know I'm almost 20 years too late. I should have come looking for you earlier. I should have died with you that day. Yelena? Yelena! No! Don't leave me! Please! Yelena!
Emilie, I'm alive. No.
That was an illusion.
No. The amount of fake.
We started making the prep to create a perfect accord. The accord is the basis of perfume making,
the product in its most primitive form. Ambergris mixed with cedarwood, rounded out with a base note of agarwood.
This is the scent of leather?
Exactly. We're unable to extract essential oils from leather, but by combining other raw materials, we can recreate its essence. That is the purpose of an accord.
Does that mean you can recreate any scent in the whole world?
I'm afraid not. Certain fragrances in this world are simply one of a kind. That quality is what draws people in and fuels their obsessions.
If I wear a goose to the ball, I'll also be one of a kind.
Our competitor already got their hands on it. Perfume all in my
It
mind.
doesn't matter how much it costs. I have to buy something better.
This fragrance will be one of a kind no more. Myths can be deconstructed. Miracles can be recreated. All it takes is skill, experience, limitless exploration, and a little patience. The only thing left is determining where the real Auguste is hidden. Pretending to be attacked means he's not free to move around. Auguste must be hidden within reach.
Paimon took a peek through the window earlier and his house was packed with flowers.
The curator commissioned a flower pot from Kasharawar, capable of retaining heat and moisture.
Perfumes are as beautiful as flowers, and equally as delicate. When stored, you must take care to control the temperature and keep them away from direct sunlight. Did you get all that, Emilie?
I got it.
Did you hear? Someone was attacked again last night.
So, Sylvain is dead. Is that right?
Yes, Master.
So, you switched.
Convincing you?
Impossible if Auguste.
It was a combination, but recently,
Rainbow?
Auguste was perfumery to the mythos surrounding
The past.
You've been working as a perfumer for all these years. You should have always, but the meaning you believed in its divinity. Your obsession.
We just didn't expect it to happen.
Well, you hit so. Sylvain isn't dead. Since you've been preparing your accord since last night, I assume you've also figured out my method, then. That means the news of Sylvain's death.
Yes.
Who knows?
I know if you had things. All the crimes
Is that so?
Whoa, he accepted that kind of fast.
I don't feel the need to I did.
Careful, everyone.
Stick close.
Looks like
Of course, Master.
the combination.
The scent of a so
You're saying
rainbow roses, but if you
Rainbow, Yelena.